Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are watching from. Thanks for tuning in today. We are going to be having a chat today about the Riu Palace and the Riu non-Palace resorts in Punta Cana today. So, yeah, looking forward to having a good discussion with you. It is absolutely freezing here. We did get some snow, couple of inches, so that pretty much shut down Vancouver Airport. We just don't have the snow removal equipment. We have some, but we don't have much because we don't normally get snow, or if we do, we don't get much. So that ended up causing a ton of delays. Also, weather's not been great across Canada and in other parts of the US. So depending on where people are flying in from, there have been issues. So we are going to talk about the resorts, but I did want to say, so normally flying to the Dominican Republic from Vancouver requires 2 flights. Usually it's from here to Toronto and then from Toronto to Punta Cana. And then on the way back, same kind of routing. So we made it just fine to Toronto. There was a little bit of a delay getting out of Punta Cana, but once we got to, actually, before we departed from Punta Cana, we got a notification that our next flight was going to be was canceled, and that we were going to get notification of the revised flights, but they didn't know what it was at that time. So we land, and it was about 11 or so by the time we got to the hotel. And I was on hold for an hour trying to get through to them. We did get revised flights. We weren't on the same flights together anymore. And it was just going to be a long, long trip home. So ended up, instead of it being about 9-10 hours with waiting time in between flights from departure from Punta Cana to touching down in Vancouver, instead of it being about 10 or 11 hours total travel time, for me ended up being, I think it was 33 hours. And for my husband, it was 45 hours. So not the best trip ever. But anyways, what we are going to, I want to talk to you today about, so just having gotten back from the Riu Palace resorts in Punta Cana, we were staying at the Riu Palace Bavaro, which is on Bavaro Beach. Who would have thought? And I don't have my maps. Shoot, I meant to have them handy. So it's part of the Riu complex. So when you drive in, it sort of becomes a gated community because you have the gate at the front to access all 4 of the Riu properties on site. And then from there, you can kind of go in between them. Now, if you're staying at the non-palace resort, the Riu Bamboo, that's the only one that you have access to. So very similar to the Riu Santa Fe in Cabo San Lucas. If you're staying at the Riu Palace Punta Cana, then you have access to the Riu Palace Punta Cana, obviously, and the Riu Bamboo. If you're staying, so Riu Bamboo down here, Riu Palace Punta Cana here, Riu Palace Bavaro has access to all 3 of those. And then Riu Palace Macau guests have access to all 4 of those properties. What's interesting is in Punta Cana, as ever, things are a little bit different. It seems to be by geographic location is how they're determining the way that they do cross sharing to different resorts and stuff like that. In Cabo San Lucas, you could go to the other properties for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, not the a la cartes, but you could go to the snack bars, to the buffets, no problem. In Punta Cana, it is still the old-fashioned way, just lunch exchange privileges. So we could go to the Riu Palace Punta Cana for lunch, and we did do that a few times because they have an excellent little jerk chicken shack, which is surprisingly spicy considering most resorts tend to go a little bit more easy on the palate, just so that they don't have to worry about stuff that's overly spicy. Oh, lots of comments here. Hello, Deb. Can't talk today. Good day. How are you? And saying, temperatures in like Lake Chilapa, Jalisco, 22 degrees, going to be 27 today. 2 more weeks. Oh, wow. Before you're going to Hyatt Vivid Grand Island. Nice. Well, I hope you enjoy it as much as I did. It'll be interesting to see what you think of it. And I'm curious how your flights are. I guess, are you flying via Mexico City is my guess. Just depends on the airline you're on. So yeah, the exchange privileges are interesting. Both the Riu Palace Bavaro and Riu Palace Macau are resorts with elite club rooms. And for those who don't know, elite club is just a higher room category that you can book. All of the swim up suites in the different buildings were elite club, and there is a separate section of villas which is elite club as well. And the difference is elite club guests can make reservations. Now there are, you don't, they have evolved in for those Rius at in the Punta Cana area where you don't have to make advance reservations for dinner. However, some of the more popular ones like the steakhouse gets busy very, very quickly. So for guests that are staying in elite club, you can make an advance reservation for that section, or that restaurant. So that's kind of handy. For the rest of us, what we did, there's actually a bar that's really close to the steakhouse, and we didn't want to eat right at 6 when they first opened, but we also didn't want to get stuck and find at 7:30 that nothing's available. So we so what we did is we went to the bar for intending to have a drink, pre-dinner drink, and just kept an eye on the line. And once it started to build, then we very quickly walked over and put our names on the list. And I think that was about 7 o'clock. At that time, we still did have to wait for a table, but it wasn't very long at all. And they just give you a buzzer and off you go. And they do show you how many people are on the list ahead of you. So you can get a good idea of what it's like. The one night we didn't do that, and we got there a little bit late, and she said it was going to be after like 9 o'clock or something that we could eat. And when you're hungry and you need to eat, waiting another hour or two is no bueno. So yeah, actually I can even show you. I got a picture of that. So we were sitting at the bar here, and you can see in the background, that's the lineup. And so that was at 7:30 the one night. And it seems like everybody goes at the same time. It was kind of funny at this property because, even going to the buffets and stuff like that, it was, as soon as the buffets would open, I'm in there trying to take my videos to show you guys, what the food looks like and stuff. And it's like these people hadn't been allowed to eat for 3 days. And it wasn't any one particular group. It was everybody. It was like, oh my God, there's food available. Quick, get it before it's gone. I mean, the food was available all day long. And this property, I would say, was one of the best I've ever been to out of all the Rius in terms of variety and options, as well as just having food all day long. I mean, there was the coffee shop where you could get little snacks and mostly sweet stuff, but they did sometimes have little mini sandwiches in the afternoon, which is just a perfect little treat to tide you over. They had an ice cream shop, which also did crepes, and they had all kinds of toppings and stuff like that. They also had, what are those called? The macarons. They had macarons in there. And again, other sweets and stuff like that, cookies, donuts, that kind of thing. And then there was 2 different food courts And this is where you could get basically takeaway food. It's like a food court you would see in a shopping mall, but it's all included. So I'm going to be having to pay attention next time I go to a court in a mall, because I'll just be like, yeah, I'll have some of that and walk away. But the one at the back was more geared to kids. Now, this was at the back of the property at Riu Palace Punta Cana, Riu Palace Bavaro, and that's near the Splash World, as well as the kids' water park and the kids club. So naturally, those buildings, those rooms are more oriented towards families. And this is also where you find the family connecting suites and that kind of thing. I am going to do a full video on the food, so you'll be able to see what a lot of the stuff looks like. And I did in my room video for the Riu Palace Bavaro show you the map of the property and explain a little bit about the different sections. So do tune into that if you want a less rambly version of explanation. The food court at the back had a bakery, which had, croissants, muffins, cupcakes, as well as other sweet treats. Did they have ice cream? I think they had ice cream in the afternoon as well. There was also a tiki taco, which had tacos. Shocker. Sort of like a birria kind of pulled pork kind of mixture. And they also had chicken, I believe. There was also a pizza place. Now, the one at the back of the resort, there's two food courts. The tiki taco, what was the middle one? I think it was Pepe's Food, and the pizza place. Those were duplicated at the front as well. The difference is the food was pretty much the same, but at the back resort, the back pizza place, it was pre-made frozen pizza shells, a fairly thin crust. The ones at the front were homemade, and so it was a much lighter, doughier, fluffier crust. Very airy, very light, sometimes a little bit on the softer side, like it could have been cooked a little bit longer. But the pizzas were coming in and coming out like constantly. So again, it's like these people had never seen food before, so they were tucking in pretty well. And what else did they have? So that was at the back, and there was also like a burgers, hot dogs kind of thing to go with. I think they had onion rings, that kind of thing, and fries, as well as nachos, that kind of thing. And then there was a bar, and they had a really cool self-serve coffee machine, which also had about 5 different types of hot chocolate. And the hot chocolate, if you don't normally like hot chocolate, try it here, because it was super creamy, very rich and delicious. And for the adults, it's right by the bar, so you can go and get whatever little magical elixir you want added to your hot chocolate. Quite nice. I opted for dark rum. It's really tasty. More comments. Oh, hey, Christine, how are you? Now that you're all booked with your 8 million trips coming up. So yeah, that was the food courts. Where was I going with this? Oh, and the food courts were open from the ice cream creperie place was open from noon until 6, I believe. The food courts at the back were the same as the ones at the front. They were open from 11 a.m. until I think it was 8 p.m. The a la carte restaurants were open from 6 p.m. until I think 10 p.m. And then the buffet was open throughout the day. There's various times. But there's pretty much always something you could get available. At the front food court, on top of the burger place, the taco place, and the pizza place, they also had a place where you could get soft serve ice cream and sundaes. There was a creperie place, which also had cakes and muffins and stuff like that. And there was also a place called RFC, Riu Fried Chicken, not to be confused with Kentucky Fried Chicken, but very, very similar. Smelled amazing when they were cooking it in the morning. Could have been a little bit more well seasoned, in my opinion. But if you're looking for some crispy, deep fried chicken, it was quite nice. Then, like I said, as a Riu Palace Bavaro guest, we were allowed to walk over to the Riu Palace Punta Cana, which the way they were set up is you had at the south end of the property was the Riu Palace Bavaro. Next to that was the Riu Palace Macau, which you could walk through. You just couldn't eat or drink anything or go to the pools or anything like that there. The next one over was the Riu Bamboo. And then the next one beyond that was the Riu Palace Punta Cana. They had a really cool boardwalk that would take you past all the properties and along down to the end to the Riu Palace Punta Cana. And a little walkway with shops and stuff like that. So it was really nice because you're walking with the resort on one side and the beach and the ocean on the other. It was really pretty. And then, like I said, at the Riu Palace Punta Cana, that's where you would find the jerk chicken hut. And like I said, that's not for the faint of heart. It was spicy, very flavorful, and very moist chicken. Whereas the fried chicken one tended by nature to be a little bit on the drier side. How long were the lines for the a la carte? Okay, well, I did just show this picture, but this was one of the lines for the steak restaurant. Now, this was the most popular restaurant, and that was a lineup at 7:30. And once the lineup would reach about that length, pretty much none of those people were going to make it in. If they couldn't seat you right away, they would take your name and put it on a list, and then they would reach a point where they would just say, "That's it, we're done. We're not gonna be able to feed everybody, for the rest of the night." So you would have to choose one of the other options. So there was the steakhouse, that's the most popular. There was the, Mexican restaurant, that was probably the least popular. So in a pinch, that's the one and it's right beside the steakhouse, ironically. So a lot of people, if they couldn't make it into the steakhouse, would either opt for the Mexican restaurant or they would just hit the buffet. The buffet was smaller than a lot of Rio properties, but it did have really good variety, and I'll show you some pictures of that just in a second. There's also the third a la carte restaurant was the Asian. In my opinion, that was the best. They had did I have a picture of that? Let me see. Oh, I think I did. Is it here? Nope. I thought I took no, I guess I didn't put the picture in here. Sorry about that, guys. But again, I'll include it in my food review of the property. But the Asian restaurant, they had edamame to start, gyoza. They had shrimp crackers to start. That was the sort of amuse-bouche. Not really, but sort of. And then they had edamame. They had gyoza, as I said. They had spring rolls. It wasn't just sushi. Okay, so they had a good variety of stuff. I had the pad thai one night. I had the fried rice one night, and it was really really tasty. Okay, so that was the third one. The next is the Crystal Restaurant, which is a gourmet, and then there was one. There was another one which I'm forgetting. Oh, Italian. Yeah, actually, the Italian was really good. It comes with a really nice focaccia bread to start with oil and balsamic, which is really tasty. Then there's also a seventh restaurant, which is the American Diner, and that one is a little bit different because it's open from I think I want to say noon until 8 p.m. And this is pretty much your classic American food. There was nachos on the menu, but it's that ruddy cheese sauce. There was a salad on the menu, which was actually really tasty. And that was what I had the first day because I arrived and I'm carrying around my knapsack with my laptop and all my other valuables in it that I didn't want to leave at the front desk with my regular bag full of clothes, which nobody's going to steal that. But I had my backpack with me and I thought, well, I don't want to go to the buffet because then I'm going to have to put it down and leave it unattended. But so this worked out to be a perfect option. I went in and I wanted the salad. It didn't have any meat with it or anything like that. So I used my very bad Spanglish and was able to finally figure out how to ask for it with beans, frijoles. And there was just like, there were like, nacho beans that she sprinkled on top of the salad. So it was really, really tasty. They also have a burger on there, hot dog, and something else. I forget what. Oh, and mac and cheese as well. Portions are pretty big. They also had buffalo wings. So, it's kind of basic food, but sometimes you just want something that, what to expect and that kind of thing. Portions a little bit on the larger size, and also for uh, some of the à la carte restaurants, like the one night we went to I think it was the Crystal, and we had the short rib, and it was a massive, well, you may not think that's massive. It was probably about an 8-ounce, piece of steak, but neither one of us could finish it. It was massive. We kind of laughed afterwards and felt bad because we didn't finish it, and we said, like, we could have easily shared it, and we still wouldn't have finished both portions, so, um oh, Deb says she's flying direct to Cancun. Oh, nice. Oh, Vallarta Air. Oh, sorry, Volaris. Huh. Well, that's good to know. Interesting. So here's another thought for you guys. Do you ever do these kind of mixed vacations where you travel to one city, like for example, Mazatlan, and have a few days there or a week there, and then fly to Cabo San Lucas and enjoy another week there? I kinda like doing that. I hate the whole airport thing. I hate the whole pack your stuff up, wait to check out, wait to check in, blah, blah, blah. But being able to see 2 destinations in one trip is pretty cool, especially when I talked about the ordeal that I had just getting home the other day. So, if I can do it quickly and efficiently, and especially on a direct nonstop flight, giddy up. The other thing I forgot to mention as far as food goes at the Riu Palace Bavaro is at the front food court. They also had a poke stand slash walk station. This was by far and away the most popular place to eat at the resort, more so than the buffet, more so than the steakhouse. So, again, for the steakhouse, for the poke station, not so much poke, but the walk station, people were like flipping out about this. They loved it. They would line up 20 people deep for it. For those things, if you are going over a weekend, you're kind of screwed because that's the busiest days of the week. If you are going for a full week, pick the steakhouse and the walk station to go to midweek because there's the least amount of people there. It's a little bit less frenetic, and you'll be able to get in and enjoy the food. The we did we My husband tried the pokey. He thought it was really, really good. The wok station, you had 3 choices. You had, stir-fried rice, which came with, chicken and shrimp. You had a vegetarian noodle station, and then you had a pork belly noodle station. I wanted to try the pork belly, one, but by the time I went to the lineup and when it was mid-afternoon and the pork belly they were out. They were refilling it throughout the day, but at the time that I went, they didn't have any. So I just asked for shrimp instead. The portion's quite large. It's a proper size bowl, about 3 inches high and probably 5 inches wide. Nah, maybe not quite that big. But it was full of noodles or rice, depending on which item you got. And there were a lot of people that you could just see them, like, they would reach the point where they looked at the rest of the bowl and there was so much food left, but they'd hit the wall. They couldn't eat anymore. And, then the person would come to clear their plate or whatever, and it was like, "I'm sorry, but I can't finish anymore." Um, but the fried noodles, absolutely delicious, absolutely. So definitely you wanna try that. Um, I wanna talk about, oh, we had another comment here. Um, oh, I thought there was another comment that came up. No, guess not. I wanna talk about a little bit, oh, well, I was gonna show you the pictures of the food. Okay, so which was this? So that was some of the desserts that they had. This is just at the buffet, okay? So this isn't a special, dessert area or anything. This is just at the buffet. So if you had dinner and you didn't really feel like you wanted the dessert that they had, you could always pop into the buffet and get something as well. This was the mussels collection that they had one night. And check out those crab legs. I mean, I don't even know what we were doing that I went and I took the picture, but I didn't actually stop and grab a whole plate full of them. But I mean, Absolutely delicious, right? So when you look at different Riu properties, you're going to reach a point during the day when you've had enough of being in the sun, you had enough of doing the whole swimming thing in the pool, and maybe you just want to go and get a drink and sit and chat, or just relax, or read your book, or just enjoy the view. Um, and it's interesting comparing. So I've been to the Rius. Well, I think it was last year or the year before. I was at the Rius in Cabo. It's been many, many years since I was at the Rius in Puerto Vallarta. A couple years ago, I went to the Riu in Mazatlan. I've been to the ones in Cancun before. Some of them, well, all of them. I haven't stayed at a Riu in Cancun since before COVID, so it's been a while. Recently was at the Riu in the Riu Palace in Bahamas, in Paradise Island, and also was recently at the Riu Palace Resorts in Aruba. So by comparing all of those, I have to say that as far as beach bars go, the Riu Palace Punta Cana, the Riu Bamboo, and the Riu Emerald Bay in Mazatlan, those three are tied for my tops. I don't have a photo of the one in Mazatlan, but it's just amazing sunsets. This is actually from the Riu Bamboo. So imagine you're having a drink and you can see the palm trees, you can see the ocean, the waves crashing, pretty amazing. This was from over at the Riu Palace, Punta Cana. So again, equally beautiful view. And I think, oh yeah, you can even see the server guy there. I can't make this bigger, I don't think. Can I? No. But you can see that there is drink service out to the beach, because there's a guy that's delivering drinks right there. And I think that's actually the reason why I took that photo. Evidence they do deliver to the beach. But I thought those were amazing. And by comparison, if you've ever been to the Riu Palace Cabo San Lucas, I think we agreed that as far as lobby bars go, hands down, that is my favorite of all properties. So I should actually put this together in a video just to sort of compare them, because it's interesting. You compare the pools. The Riu Palace Punta Cana had the traditional sort of rectangular shaped pools. They've got the swim up bar pool, which is adults only. They've got pool for activities and for everybody. So it was a little bit more separated. Well, it was all in the same area, but just that regular sort of rectangular shape. Then over at the Riu Bamboo, again, rectangular shaped pools, and a little bit on the smaller side, which is interesting because that resort had, I want to say that one had 1,000 rooms, whereas the Riu Palace Punta Cana had 600, and the Riu Palace Bavaro had, 1,004, if I'm not mistaken. So they're pretty decent sized resorts. Now those are the 4 properties that are co-located. If you walk another 5 kilometers down the beach, so about an hour, you will eventually come to the Riu Republica. So again, also not a palace property. I assumed, and the only reason I kept going is I had my phone out and I was looking on Google Maps and I could see it was literally just around the corner. And if I was already almost there, why not go in? So that property, I assumed, because we were staying at a palace property, and B, a palace property that has elite club, that we would have access to it. So we did walk into the property, and I went up to the bar. I showed him my wristband and said, Riu Palace Bavaro. And I said, can we get a drink? And he said, yeah, no problem. Now, I don't know if that's the official stance, but at the time, lunch, and they jerk chicken hut. Somebody else commented on one of my videos that is pretty amazing chicken. and it wasn't open yet, unfortunately. So we had a glass of water because we were desperately needing to be hydrated, and a beer because why not? You're on vacation. And then we headed back to our resorts. But it was interesting to see that resort, and I've done some video clips on that one. It's that property has a ridge between the property and the beach and the ocean. So if you're here at the pool area and the bars, enjoying, swimming and stuff like that, from no place there can you see over the ridge and to the ocean. So none of those rooms would have ocean views either. Whereas for the 4 properties that are co-located from the resort, it's flat out to the ocean. So from our room, like I booked a garden view villa, and I kind of expected it to be at the back of the resort, which I found out later, those are the junior suites. Again, covered all of this in my room video for the Riu Palace Bavaro, so check that out if you're curious. But we ended up with an ocean view. We were on the 4th floor though, and that's fine. I mean, I think I'm in a little bit better shape. I did lose 2 pounds on vacation, so that says something. And it wasn't like we weren't eating, but we were clocking at least 10,000 steps a day on average, closer to 12. And there's no elevators. So there was in the main building. So that's important to know. We spoke to another couple who ended up, they were elite club, and that building, the villa only goes up 3 floors, but they were on the top floor. And they're like, well, that's great. We enjoy the view. We like the amenities of the room, of the elite club, that kind of thing. But we have to walk up 3 flights of stairs, and each flight is 21 steps. So that, you get up in the morning and you go for a walk, or you go get a coffee or a snack or something, and then you want to go back up to the room and get changed into your bathing suit and grab your towels or your beach bag. So for us, that was 84 steps. Back down again, go to the pool. Okay, great. Oh, I forgot my book. 84 steps. Back to the pool, read for a bit, whatever. Oh, it's lunchtime. Okay, well, I don't want to wear my wet bathing suit. 84 steps to get changed, back down. And then at the end of the day, obviously, again, you're going to change for dinner. The dress code was interesting. On the app, on my phone, you can get the Riu app, and it will actually tell you, I'll pull that up now. It will tell you what restaurants are available. It'll tell you what's on the menu, which is pretty cool. And it'll tell you what the dress code is for each restaurant. So you can see what restaurants are available. You can see what their opening hours are. You can see what days of the week they're open, and you can see the dress code. When we were there, all of the restaurants were open at the whole time, were open at all times. So I'll just show you, I'll show you Zen. So, or actually, no, I'll show you the steakhouse. Where's that one? And you can download this app and use it at any time. So I'm looking at the resort right now. I'm not there. You don't have to be signed in. You can just download the app, and then you can see the different options. So that's what that looks like. So you can see, oh, okay, it's open from 6 till 9:30. See all opening hours. Okay. Now you can see which days of the week it's open. Again, it's open the whole time. The hotel was pretty full when we were there. So that's probably why. Dress code. I like this one. Appropriate clothing required for dinner. What does that mean? Cut off shorts, flip-flops, is that appropriate? We did see, I wore shorts to dinner. They're, nice shorts. They go down, 3/4 length. I did see people in flip-flops. I did not see anybody in a singlet, a tank top. But that's probably an option for lunch. I know they really don't, the Rius really don't like people wearing tank tops, but I think they would definitely seem to be making exceptions here. But for dinner, I mean, ideally, it's a collared shirt for men. It did say on some of the stuff that I'd read that long pants were required. Didn't use them at all. Well, my husband did on the flight home once we hit Toronto, and then he ended up in Saskatoon of all places to fly home. So he did actually utilize his clean full length pants, but for the most part, really just regular dress shorts, like golf shorts would do. I did see guys wearing t-shirts to dinner, so obviously that wasn't a problem. And then again, you can click on the menu. It does ask you if you have allergies, but again, I would make sure, take a look at the different options to see that. But you can click through and you can see all the different, the starters, what's available. And you can click on it to get a little bit more info. Not a lot of it more info, but a little bit. So, and by the way, that was spicy deviled eggs. So that's something you don't see every day on the menu. So it was kind of handy. You could also see when the Riu parties were, what the theme was, what time they were. It's a larger property, and the Riu parties are, remember I said it's Riu Palace Bavaro, Riu Palace Macau, Riu Bamboo, and then Riu Palace Punta Cana. There's a casino that's at the Riu Palace Macau, and there's a shuttle that runs between them. There is the Riu Palace, the Riu parties, and those are that was located behind the Riu Bamboo. So, for me, it was no big deal. I don't mind walking, and I'm quite happy to get my steps in. Again, lost 2 pounds, so it's not a bad thing. But if you didn't want to walk it or you're dressed up for the party, then there's a shuttle that goes back and forth. So it's just worth noting. But there's lots of information you can see on the app. You can even see the activities and stuff like that. So that's kind of handy. So, okay, so there's a water slide park, and since I should have looked this up ahead of time, but I'll continue rambling on while I look it up if I can. When would I have taken that photo? Probably close to the last day. Okay, so for the kids, there are activities throughout the day, and there are also the Rio Land. So depending on the age of the child, they have that going on. There was something called Riu Art, and I'm super, super annoyed that I kept forgetting to go and inquire about what that was and who it was for, that kind of thing. I did take a photo. Did I? No, that's the Rio party. I'm trying to see it. Oh, I probably can't find it. There was some height and age restrictions for the splash park, the big water park. Did we find it? I think we did. Okay, so to access the Splash Water World Park, kids have to be 12 years or older and must be 1.2 meters tall or more. So there you go. That wasn't actually that hard to find. So that's a bit of a restriction. So you just need to know that. Also, they don't have any alcohol in the area, so you can't bring any alcohol in. And the water slides, I'll do a separate video on this. The water slides are pretty intense, so it's probably best if you go there when it's not when you're not under the influence, and that is technically, they say that is a requirement, so that's worth noting. Swimwear must be worn. Okay, good to know. And what day? I think it's Tuesdays. they are closed for maintenance. So if you're going, for example, like a Wednesday to Wednesday trip, do not wait until your last full day, Tuesday, to go to the water park because it's closed. But they have big slides. There's a drop one that drops almost straight down. There's another one that drops and then drops again. There's an enclosed one. There's an open one, and that looked like it went pretty fast. There's one that dumps you out into this like toilet bowl thing. I wouldn't do something like that personally. But it sort of spins you around and then shoots you out the bottom. And then there's also a set of 4 that are side by side, and there you go down on a mat, and you go head first, and it goes sort of down and then down and then down. And people would race on these. So that was pretty hilarious to see. So yeah. Now, as far as younger kids, slides, yeah, they have to be 1.2 meters tall. No, that's to go on the slides. They were intense slides. And I wouldn't put a kid under the age of 12 on some of those rides. Because even some of the adults were a bit like, whew, was it and they're hooting and not hooting and hollering, but more like, caught them unawares, wasn't quite sure of the speed, that kind of thing. That said, there are smaller slides. Okay, it's like a kiddie splash park. But for smaller kids, there is a separate splash park for them. But then that would be more like the younger kids. And what else did they have? That was kind of the main activities going on, but they had crazy games and stuff like that. They had crazy games for adults. There was a sexy dance thing that they did on Mondays. And that was pretty hilarious, where they sit some girl down, a woman down, and the guys have to do some kind of sexy dance up to her kind of thing. So the adults, this was by the swim up bar. The adults had a good laugh about that. Incidentally, 2 swim up bar pools, one at the back of the resort, but in that family area, and one at the front. And at the back, there's also a pool for everybody, as well as, how many pools was there? 2 pools, and then the splash park as well. And there's adults in the splash park as well. Mini golf, no. Tennis, pickleball, soccer, and basketball court. That was behind the Riu Bamboo. So activities that way. There were water sports available, but most of the stuff is a paid option. I'm trying to think if there was anything else for the kids. I think that's kind of it. But I mean, the kids that were there all seemed like they looked like they were having a really good time. So I think there would be a lot for them to keep busy, just having the different pool areas as well. Yeah, what else did I want to talk about? Rooms. Rooms were spacious, huge, tons and tons of hangers. Showers enclosed and private. Bathroom toilet is separate and enclosed and private. So you had a proper door. In the bathroom, in fairness, there was a frosted glass window, but the shower was on the opposite side of that room, and that was where you would shower is probably 15 feet away from the frosted window. So you could actually see more from the shower. You could see more into the room because you had the balcony behind it. So the light, you could see where a person was, but you couldn't see if they were clothed or not clothed. So you do have privacy that way. So if it's 2 friends sharing a room, it's probably pretty comfortable. And the shower is massive. Ladies, shampoo and conditioner, as well as body wash. The lotion was quite nice. I forget what the brand was, but it was nice. The shampoo and conditioner worked well. But it is the squeezy containers. So it's not like you're bringing this stuff home with you. Not back in the olden days when you could just like scoop up all the toiletries. And the rooms were very quiet. Could not hear our neighbors at all. And I know we had them on either side. So that's quite nice. Like I said, you'd have to walk up the 21 steps per flight of stairs, so that's worth noting. And the balcony was big, and it had chairs with a reclining back to them, and then there's rails on the side where you can hang up your wet clothes. I always pack clothespins just in case it's because it was quite windy while we were there, and had we not hooked up our clothes, I think we would have been coming back with a little bit less clothing. um, Interesting. So we really only hung out at the adult pool. There were lots and lots of people at we'll call it not the kiddie pool, because there's a kiddie pool at the front of the resort. There's a kiddie pool, which is 1.2, I want to say 1.2 meters, 3 feet, just over 3 feet. This is also where they did the aerobics midday, and that was pretty hilarious. Just because the guy would be like, okay, do this, and then do this, and then do this, and then do this. And then he would play the music and say, okay, do, 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 do. And then somebody would be like, do, 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 do. And he would just stop, and he'd be like walking away as if like, oh, haha, like, come on, you got it wrong, buddy. It was hilarious to watch. And the pool was packed with people. People would start watching it, or would be walking by going like, what the heck's going on? This guy's blowing his whistle perpetually. What's happening? And they would go and dump their stuff and hop in the pool to do the aerobics. So it shows you how popular that was. The main pool is quite big, and they had lots of people with floaties. The swim at bar pool was always packed full of people, because we know why. And we didn't really go into that one. It was kind of fun to sit near sometimes when they were doing like the sexy dance show, or contest, but otherwise it was just a little bit too busy for my liking. And then the adult pool, just about everybody had floaties, and there were all kinds of floaties. There was some where it's like the bed that you lay on, the big blow up bed. Some had that. Some had pool noodles. Some had sort of the chair things, blow up chair things. And of course I was there with my hammock thing, which I always bring them now, and they're very comfortable. And you can sit on those a few different ways. But yeah, there didn't seem to be, at the time that we were there, maybe it changes different months of the year when it's busier, but it was no problem to bring pool floats and enjoy. Oh, hey, Bojangles. How is Dreams Aventuras? I hope you are having a fabulous time. And what's the temperature there? Hope it's nice and warm for you. Hope it's not raining or anything. Last I looked, it was supposed to be really great weather this week, so that's good for you, especially considering what it's like here. No bueno. So yeah, I think the pool floats, not a problem. They did have a few different shops on site where you could buy necessities, suntan lotion, that kind of thing. Classic resort prices. You're looking at, sort of 24 to 30 US for suntan lotion. If you forget it, if you run out, whatever. Interestingly enough, if you go to the front desk, you can register for the shuttle, the free shuttle to the Blue Mall. Now, I've done that before. I did it when I was staying in Cap Cana, which is only a mere 10, 15-minute ride away. From the Riu Palace Bavaro, the free shuttle to the mall is a half an hour drive. So that is something that you kind of want to think about. When you get a little brochure, and you need to go into 3 shops that are listed and get stamps, and you don't have to buy anything. You just literally walk into the first. So I went into Zara Home, and I just walked right to the back of the store to the cashier and asked for a stamp. I mean, they know the drill. This is what you're is required of you. A tip is, when you walk into the mall, the first thing you're going to see is a Dolce & Gabbana shop. that should be an indicator of what types of stores they have there. I mean, they had I think you say 𝖳તુΛ, they had Zara, Pandora, L'Occitane, there was an Adidas place, Crocs, and then also just some souvenir shops. And everything in the souvenir shops was a little bit on the pricey side, a little bit less than at the shops at the resort, but nonetheless, it wasn't like cheap as chips kind of pricing. For a beer cozy, it was like $8 at the mall, whereas at the resort it was 11. However, if you walk out of the mall and across the parking lot, so 200 feet is a grocery store, and that's worth looking at. I popped in and we took a look at the rum prices, and the rum was pretty cheap. But then you would have to put it in your suitcase in order to bring it home, so that's kind of a pain. And but if you forgot suntan lotion, it was very reasonably priced, and I took some photos. Everything's in Dominican pesos, obviously, and the exchange rate is a little bit confusing because, for example, it's like 40 Dominican pesos is 1 Canadian dollar. But, and I've showed you this before, if you have your, you can set up your calculator to do the exchange rate here, where you can say, okay, so if something is 2,000, no, hold on. So if it says, oh, the suntan lotion's 2,000 Dominican pesos, you can see that American, it's $32. So as long as you have this set up, and it's very easy to do, you just set it up on the bottom here, hitting your calculator, and then you can say which version you want to do the calculation. So it's kind of extremely handy that way to be able to figure out how much something is really going to cost, because you always have to know your prices, right? It's just like Costco. Michael's also saying, from the UK and learned from this is your best friend to the bar to get larger drinks. No problem at all. Everybody had travel mugs. So yeah, they'll take them, they'll wash them for you, and yeah, no problem to fill them up. They've got, obviously the ice is fine to drink, to have, because it's all through filtered water. Don't drink the tap water. That's very important. And it does say on the mirror, right beside the sink, that it's not potable. So don't even brush your teeth in it. Honestly, it's not worth it. They put tons of water in the room, so that's makes it an easy choice. But yeah, no problem. Bring your mug. The glasses that they had were sort of stadium cups, so stadium cup size. So, they're pretty, not quite like that size, but and I know it's hard to tell context. Okay, there's right beside my face, so gives you a little bit of size. That was about the size of the mugs, the cups, the glasses that they had, if you were just getting a regular, vodka tonic or something. And they, if you had a larger cup, no problem, they would fill that up for you. Straws, not really, although there was a guy walking around selling coconuts. Those were $12. So they would get the coconuts fresh, and he's walking around with a machete. So if you said yes, you wanted to spend $12 and get one, he's going to hack it open for you. And then the other guy had a pocket full of straws. So they weren't not available, but but they weren't plentiful. It's also worth noting something that we. Oh, well, I try. I hate, the whole reason I started doing this is because I hate not knowing stuff. And I know some of you like to know all these things ahead of time. Why pack a massive pool float only to find out that you can't use it? It takes up space in your bag, takes weight in your bag. So I just try to, share this information in my long rambling way. You want the info, you pay the price. Yeah. So yeah, you can definitely get your drinks done. That's no problem. They don't have Clamato. It's very, very sad. But the Bloody Marys were not bad. Um, what else didn't they have? They did have though all kinds of alcohol, like um, the I think, for example, the included vodkas were, I think it was Kettle One, Absolute, and Tito's. And I believe Tito's is gluten free. So if you're celiac, then you can still have drink. They had Pepsi products, and in the room, of course, you got your liquor dispenser. That was Absolute Vodka, Brugal rum anejo, dark rum. There was some kind of like Scotchy whiskey thing. I don't know. And then there was gin, and I cannot remember what the brand of gin was, but it'll be in my room video. So if you want to know, if you need to know, check that out. Yeah. Okay. So the daiquiris, they have slushy machines at each bar. The swim up pool bar on the stand up side, so you could walk to that bar, um, had I think 4 different ones. I know in the Riu Palace Punta Cana at the front bar where I showed you those the photos of what the view was like. At that one, they had pina colada mix, mango daiquiri, mango mix. What do they use with the vanilla? A Miami Vice. I think that's pina colada and strawberry. So they did have a few of these sort of pre-made things. And then they have the slushy, and then they just pour the alcohol on top and mix it up for you. So it's all good. Um, I think they had plastic straws, if I'm honest. I never used one, so I couldn't say for certain. But I agree with you. I bring my own as well. I don't normally drink drinks where I would need a straw, although I did have a few pina coladas while I was there, and they were quite tasty. But paper straws, I can't stand the texture. I can't stand the taste it gives you. To I don't know. Maybe I'm just fussy, but nope, nope, nope. But then I'll usually just, instead of getting like a blended drink, I would get a margarita on the rocks, so that you're still getting that nice flavor, but you're not being able to drink it unless you go and get a spoon. And I will say also that the wine was good. It wasn't the most amazing wine I've ever had, but it was so similar to like a Jackson Trigg Chardonnay, or not quite a yellowtail Chardonnay. I'm a white wine drinker, but a yellowtail Chardonnay I find is got a bit more body to it. The wine that they had there was a little bit more lighter, but it tasted just fine. Silicone straws, yeah. Washing liquid to clean them all. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. They didn't have any laundry on site, but you could send your clothes in to get washed if you needed to. But if you were going to be there for 2 full weeks, then that might be something to consider. But otherwise, for a week, you don't really need it, depending on how much you pack. So yeah, that's kind of. So which one would be best for you? We didn't really spend much time at Macau at all because we weren't allowed to. But we also we really liked the little bar area of the beach bar area of the Riu Palace Punta Cana. So we did find ourselves gravitating over towards there. Also, we had decided we wanted to get 10,000 steps in a day, so that never hurt. And the jerk chicken over there was amazing, so that was kind of cool. But overall, we had a really nice time, and yeah, it was a really nice resort. And the beach area, I should talk about that for a second. The beach was pretty amazing. There was tons of people walking up and down the beach. Now, if you went south, so from the Riu Palace Bavaro, if you walked south, you'd go past. There seemed to be Ibero stores on either side of us, and then there was a few other resorts. Vicarinas and something else. And you can only walk to the south for so far, where before you sort of run into where the outcropping is such that you kind of have to get fully immersed in the water in order to get around it. Whereas if you go up to the like north towards you walk past Macau, Bamboo, Punta Cana, then you can keep going north for forever. We walked almost to the Hard Rock, which is in Uvero Alto, so like a whole different beach area. But like I said, that was at least an hour's walk away from the hotel that we were staying at, and it's a relatively easy walk, but it's hot weather, so you really got to watch your hydration levels because that can be a problem. But the beach was beautiful, tons of people walking every day, tons of people in the ocean, but not necessarily good for kids. It's lots of waves. It was very windy when we were there, so you had to kind of be cautious of that. If you like bobbing in the waves, great. This is the place for you. Similar to Cancun on the east side of the peninsula. For kids that are younger, they were doing sandcastles on the beach the whole time. There weren't too many rogue waves that would come up and sort of knock everything back to beginning level, but there was kids doing sandcastles so that was obviously a big thing for them. So yeah, I think that's everything I could possibly tell you about the Riu, but I will do a full review, and I'll actually back up all my words with some B-roll, so I'll show you what I'm talking about. But yeah, overall, I think all of them are nice. The Riu Bamboo is the one that's the biggest. At the back of the hotel, there's 2- and 3-story buildings, which again have no elevators, and it goes back quite far. So if you forgot something from your room and you were at the back of the hotel, then to get to the front, you're probably talking a 10-minute walk. Like it's a pretty good distance. But the rooms are spacious, so it's a trade-off, right? You could have a smaller room and everything could be more compressed, but this is what you get. So thanks for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you learned something from it, or potentially decided whether or not this is a place for you to check out in future. But yeah, it was a good trip. I'm glad to be home. Not glad to be here in the snow, shoveling snow on my first day back from vacation. No, don't like it at all. So get my passport renewed hopefully this week, and then we'll see where I'm off to next. But good times, right? Good travels. Thank you for joining me today and tuning in, especially Bojangles. I know you're in the middle of your vacation and enjoying sunny weather, I hope, and lots of fun pool time in Mayan Riviera, Mexico. Thanks for tuning in from wherever you're watching from. Michael, I know you're in the UK, so thanks for tuning in. I know it's later in the day there. Thanks for tuning in. We will be back next Wednesday. And I think next Wednesday, I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about the Explorer cruise that I just did, which was crazy. Caviar lobster tails, not caviar lobster tails, but caviar / lobster tails / oysters / mussels / lobster tails, all included. So yeah, we'll chat about that a bit more next week, and we'll go from there. So same time next week. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Have a great weekend and an even better next week. So we will tune in. Lost my train of thought. We'll see you next Wednesday. Same time, same channel. Before you go, don't forget, please give it a thumbs up if you haven't already done so. Really appreciate that. The channel really appreciates that. And